Today we're covering The Disastrous Life of Saiki K. Let's go! General info. The Disastrous Life of Saiki K is a slice-of-life comedy with supernatural elements from 2016. It is based on a short-form manga by Shuichi Aso. JC Staff produced 2 seasons of anime, as well as 6-episode sequel anime. There's even a live-action movie based on this property. Technically, it's a shonen, but it really doesn't have any of the shonen tropes. Let me explain. The plot. Saiki is a high schooler with supernatural powers. That is maybe an understatement. He is ridiculously overpowered. Psychokinesis, telepathy, farsight, pyrokinesis, levitation, mind alteration, perception alteration, teleportation. He is almost godlike. The story follows his daily life as a high schooler, where he basically just wants to be left alone and in peace. But a slew of usually well-meaning friends who want to spend their time with Saiki constantly get in his way. The show centers on unorthodox ways Saiki deals with them, usually avoiding their advances. It is very important to note that the tone of the show is lighthearted and positive. Saiki is basically a god, but he is honorable enough. He never uses his powers selfishly or for evil. He only uses them to avoid spending time with the more annoying of his classmates, or to get out of annoying everyday life situations in a most unusual way. What draws you in? The premise itself is really good, and it lends itself perfectly to creating many silly scenarios, where Saiki needs to figure out how to avoid hanging out with his friends. That is, right there, the greatest strength of this anime. Saiki's solutions for his everyday problems are so far-fetched and over the top that it keeps you glued to the screen, waiting to see what kind of crazy superpower will he use next, just to avoid speaking to Nendo or Teruhashi. Having a character this overpowered is usually a big hindrance to the story. There can be no stakes or risks when a character is nearly godlike. Luckily, writing is cleverly written around this fact and produces intense scenarios which almost always end in a funny or heartwarming way. This leads to the second greatest strength of this anime, and that is the stellar voice casting. It is amazing. Almost all of the cast is voiced by the very best voice actors anime industry has to offer, starting with Saiki himself, who is voiced by none other than Levi Hedgehaw himself. His voice acting, especially when Saiki is acting jaded and exasperated by actions of his friends, is absolutely a perfect fit for what Saiki is supposed to represent. Other famous voice actors, such as voices of Eren, Irvin, Reiner, it's like a small Attack on Titan reunion, as well as Alice of SAO, and almost all others, elevate the performances of side characters and make this show a truly unique experience. The side characters themselves are mostly one-note characters, but are written well enough to play off of Saiki. Probably the best written side character is Teruhashi, the high school beauty. Through her inner monologue, we understand what her motivations are, and that is to be the center of the universe. Her character is intentionally annoying, but is showcasing a vapid and self-centered person perfectly, whose intentions are always foiled by Saiki's indifferent reactions. She is the embodiment of that old saying, the dream of every woman in the world is to be the dream of every man in the world. And it really shows. Were it not for Megumi from Food Wars, I would go as far to say that this is my favorite blue-haired side character in anime. But Megumi is still number 1 in my heart, even though she is not number 1 in Soma's heart. I will never forgive Soma for choosing the wrong girl. What were you thinking? What turns you away? As I said, the premise is really good. but it doesn't leave any room for growth of the main character. Saiki is mature, reasonable, and moral from the get-go, albeit cynical and jaded, which is to be expected from someone in his situation, and he doesn't really change throughout the story. So, what little character development there is, it is centered around people surrounding Saiki. The other issue I find in all anime that is designed around one-note characters like this is that you soon spot a pattern that repeats in every episode. Saiki doesn't want to do something. Through unfortunate series on events, it seems that he will have to do something. And Saiki gets out of doing that something by using ludicrous powers. That's basically the gist of every episode. Rinse and repeat. Also, a lot of the humor is based on puns in Japanese, which will be lost on people who don't speak Japanese, which is most of us. The show also suffers from problems with pacing. Every episode is a collage of 5 mini stories strung together. In order to deliver 5 smaller stories in the span of 24 minutes, the plot needs to go forward at neck-breaking speed. That can be a bit tiring and difficult to follow at times, but it emulates the short form of the manga, so it can be forgiven, I guess. Conclusion. The Disastrous Life of Saiki K is a cleverly written comedy and a fun experience from start to bottom. It is carried by stellar performances from all the voice actors, and Kamiya's performance in particular really elevates this show to another level. I guess anything Levi Hecho touches turns to gold. If you're in the mood for a good quirky comedy with a nice original setting, you really can't go wrong with this show, and it is well worth the time investment. Also, after watching it, you might feel the need to try coffee jello, something I never even heard of before. That is a plus, I guess. That's it about Saiki. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Follow us on social networks. Check out other videos on the channel. We have many spoiler-free and spoiler-heavy videos about all kinds of anime. Check it out. That's it. See you next time. Bye bye.